We must be the party of South just as much as the party of the North.
At May's general election, Labour is aiming to win key seats across southern and eastern England that will help deliver a Labour government. But it's hard to find anywhere here that wouldn't be better off with Labour. While some individuals and communities are very well off, it's not like that for most of us. Real wages have fallen here by even more than the £1,600 a year fall across the UK. While our incomes have been squeezed, our cost of living is higher. House prices are higher here. It takes young families longer to save the deposit on their first home. And if you rent, most modest income households are spending over a quarter of their salaries on rent. In some areas, rent is more than a third of a monthly wage. That's tough on people who rent, and it's tough on taxpayers too, who have to fit the bill as more and more working families are forced to claim housing benefit. Childcare is more expensive, and the cost of social care is higher. We drive further to work, pay higher fuel prices, and make the biggest payments to the government for using the trains. Once, commuter towns rewarded hard work with relatively comfortable lives. Today, housing is expensive and train fares are rising faster than earnings. In half of London's commuter belt, local wages are actually below the national average. The gap between the richest and poorest is wider than in any other English region. Some places, more than a quarter of jobs don't pay a living wage, and in many more areas the proportion is higher than the national average. Almost 4 out of every 10 jobs in Torridge in West Devon pay less than the living wage. Average wages are £15,000 a year, 7,000 below the national average. There's a low pay coast from North Norfolk to the Bristol Channel. Labour's pledges set out how we will build a strong economic foundation and deliver higher living standards for working families. We're proud of our towns, villages and cities, but our communities are under pressure. The population is growing rapidly, with newcomers from other parts of the UK and abroad increasing demands on schools, hospitals and housing. Some immigrants are badly treated by employers, undermining local jobs and wages. Labour will put controls on immigration and introduce fair rules, making it illegal for employers to undercut wages by exploiting workers. Our children aren't always getting the best start in life. There's a shortage of school places, and under this government 13,000 more children in southern England are in infant classes of over 30. As last year's GCSE results showed, while only a few areas fell behind the national average in the proportion of pupils achieving top grades, if you look at those on free school meals, you'll find large areas of southern and eastern England where children are falling behind. In some areas, fewer than a quarter of pupils from low-income backgrounds meet top grades. The number of young apprentices is falling, and more southern families have been hit by the tuition fees hike. Labour has set out how we can build a country where the next generation can do better than the last. At the last election, most people here voted Conservative or Lib Dem, but these parties have let down the people who trusted them. The communities that need most support have been hit hardest by unfair spending cuts. While a few counties in central southern England have been protected, other areas have been harder hit, with bigger falls in the areas of greatest need. Coastal counties like Cornwall and the Isle of Wight, and cities and towns like Poole, Southampton and Hastings have had some of the deepest reductions. The NHS suffered unnecessary reforms and privatisation. In our regions, over 400,000 people waited over 4 hours in A&E last year. Waiting lists are at their highest in 6 years, and 1 in 4 patients wait a week or more to see a GP. Labour will build an NHS with time to care. Labour's plan for Britain offers a better future for living standards, for the next generation and for the National Health Service.